Welcome to the Shifting People podcast, where we go deep into the weeds with leaders on the front lines of people management in the service industry. We interview the best minds in HR and talent acquisition, along with owner-operators, franchisees, and general managers to bring you real insights that you can actually apply in your business today. I'm your co-host, Derek Williamson.
And I'm Kathleen McDonough, and it's time to get to work. Today we have Vee Patel, Executive Director at Wize Computing Academy and KGS Foundation, and also franchisee at Menchies. Welcome. Thanks for coming on, Vee.
Thank you, Kathleen and Derek. It's my pleasure to have been a part of this, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, we're excited to have you.
We're so excited to have you. Vee, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got here.
So I grew up in India. So as I born in India and raised in India, I came to US in 2007, and I have completed my accounting degree in India. So I have completed my bachelor's in India. And then when I came here, of course, I have worked in different industries like banking industry, retail industries, but having that leader background as working for somebody, growing up, I have learned that I wanted to be entrepreneur. Seeing my family being an entrepreneur, always leadership and having multiple businesses at the same time, it's always like a dream to be a businesswoman, but at the same time, being a woman and being a businesswoman is like my biggest dream and something to achieve. Little by little, I gained the experience in America, and then it was a different culture when it comes to growing up in India and then coming here. It's totally different. Accent is different. The culture is different. So you have to adapt. So that adapting process, learning process. So it's always learning something new, right? But I think this country gave me an opportunity to grow. My like a birth country, which is India, I learned how to grow up, the education and everything. This country actually, I always call it as a karma bhumi because this literally shaped me up with my career, with myself. And my growth is basically, it helped me with the process of that. So I feel like this country is like a blessing when it's like you are like a toddler trying to walk and somebody's holding your hand and trying to walk you through, not step by step, but learning, okay, you are making a mistakes, learning from the mistakes and all of that. So this country has given me that opportunity. I have had multiple businesses before, from coming from banking industry, jump to the retail environment, and then taking a charge of the small convenience store to the gas station store, which was a high volume. So from all of that, then I shifted back to working mode, being a mother, having 2 kids, and all of that kind of put a pause on my journey where it comes to continue the entrepreneurship. But then after that, in 2021 or 2022, actually, I decided that I think if I want to get back on my feet, I'm not going to work for anyone. And it's nothing wrong with it. It's just that perception. That's the mindset that I always had, that I like to be a leader. I don't like to be a follower. I don't do good at it. So it's nothing against working under someone. It's just that's how my mindset is all the time. And that's the reason why I chose to be entrepreneur. And that's where I was looking for different areas of the businesses where I can get into. And not to forget, it was a COVID, right after COVID. So that is also something that you always have to make sure you make a right choice. So education is something that I was always passionate about, and always it was curiosity because I never got to get a chance to go in any colleges or anything in this country. So this is like a completely not only just being in a business, but learning process for me. So I learned everything from that. And when I was looking for different pathways and different options, this Wize Computing Academy came into play. We were looking at different other options, but what was a little bit different from the other ones where this was about upcoming generation, about digital world, how to introduce the digital world in a simplest way, but also guiding the kids through that generation where we are going to see more of technology rather than having just non-technical things that we are seeing now. So I feel like this is a great way to start to educating kids and also at the same time learning process. So initially first I learned, once I learned and once I got expert in it, then I took over this franchise, and then that's how I started the journey. After a year, I thought this is not enough. I need more. I'm never satisfied. So I always, and my mind is always have that mindset that, okay, one is not enough. You should have multiple income of a source of income. When you are set at one source of income, I think you are limiting yourself. So that's where I felt like having two to three different type of source of income helps you, that if one what doesn't work, at least you have another one. So it's always having a backup. So this we were looking on different other franchises, and that's where I came across Menchie's frozen yogurt. That is, again, it's related to kids. So kids are always my biggest, I don't say as a weakness, but it's a love towards the kids. So education is something, also bring a purpose to do something for kids. At the same time, having a dessert with the good intention, where frozen yogurt is something that you, of course, we consider as a healthy food or a healthy dessert, right? So that's where we took over the frozen yogurt. So my slogan is all the time when people ask me is like, why do you choose two different things or two different businesses? And my thing is, from mind to tummy, you're feeding the very healthy food or healthy, I don't find the right word, but you are just feeding them a healthy stuff. So that's how I got into
Sustenance, yeah.
so that's how I got into Menchie's frozen yogurt, and I've been running successfully both the entities
Wow.
and having a good team, very strong team. That is my backbone.
Amazing. And for anyone who doesn't know, Wize Computing Academy is an after-school program for children, teaching them robotics, and you guys teach them with the goal of them competing, actually, correct?
Oh, yes. So yes, I do forgot to mention that. So Wize Computing Academy, we do teach kids Lego robotics, Minecraft, Python, Roblox, AR, VR. Then we AI machine and learning, and also we participate in first Lego League, where we prepare kids to be compete with each other. And it's just not local; it's also international and national. So it goes long ways, it depending on where you are participating and how you're participating and progressing, for sure.
Yeah, it's such an interesting business model and it's great for kids, obviously. I would assume that hiring for a team to teach children robotics seems like an impossible task, right? Because you need to have someone that knows how to do the robotics and is also good with kids and is also good at teaching. But you mentioned before that might not be the case. How do you go about finding people that are going to be good at teaching robotics to children?
So hiring is, I won't say that it's a complicated. Hiring is something that the right candidate is always intention. So we don't hire for just a skill alone. We hire for a presence, then we build the skill around it. So I think what I feel like when I hire instructor, I lead with the character, where the technical skills and the teaching experience matters, of course, but what truly makes more difference or more effective in a classroom is ability to manage the energy and hold the presence, at the same time how to stay composed with a group of 10 plus kids or more than 10 kids, right? So it's like you're looking for a patience with the kids, but also with the quiet authority. And that does not just rely on being harsh or loud, but still it commands the respect. So I usually assess this through the real life scenario and maybe like a short mocking. So short mocking teaching experience interactions with the candidate. Like for an example, I place them in a stimulation classroom where students become distracted or disengaged, right? And that is like every time. It happens all the time. And that is the main thing, that when they are not engaged, what to do, how to handle it. So start taking over each other, so that's when I step back and I would see like how the teachers or whoever the candidate is, how they are responding, how they are handling the situation. And what matters for me is that whether they can maintain that composure when they acknowledge the behavior, but at the same time, how they reestablish the connection and they get back on track, how they bring back to that attention and then engaging that project. So that is very important for me. And sometimes it's like I do come across with the non-technical teachers where they do not have experience with the robotics or any IT. That's where I'm very open, because I strongly believe that skills can be taught, but attitude and mindset cannot be. It's always comes with it. So they do learn, they do have it, and that is something makes them more appealing, more motivated. So I think we train that step by step with the robotics and everything, but with a lot of hands-on support too. I can train. If I can train 4 years old, I know I can train the teachers very well. So I do give my consistent support, of course, hands-on training. We both build that connection, that confidence that yes, you can do it, and also a lot of shadowing. So they are not just taking that leadership or that being a lead instructor or assistant instructor until they are absolutely ready. So that's what basically we do when it comes to hiring the instructors.
Yeah, the correct me if I'm wrong. I just want to make sure I understood correctly. So I believe Menchies, you were saying you bought an existing franchise, right? Correct?
Yes, that is
And
correct.
for Wize, was that the case, or was it a new opening or
That was new opening. That was
new opening?
definitely
Okay.
a new opening. Yeah.
So I guess my question more applies to just the Menchie side, because there's a challenge coming into any business that's already operating with an existing staff. How did you come in and how did you approach that in terms of making sure the existing staff trust you, building that? But sometimes you buy a business and you kind of see things where, okay, maybe this isn't actually working, right? So how did you kind of thread that when you came on board and took over the business?
That's a really good question, actually. And you literally brought me back to those memories. That was the first day when I took over. And for sure, the staff was because it's a new owner, and having an absentee owner versus having a present owner makes a big difference. So the former employee, the owner of the Menchies, they were absentee owners. So they were hardly at the store. So basically, it was completely run by staff. So there was a shift lead. So that's how it was running. So when we guy took over, and me being present there, it was a challenging at first, for sure. And it does give them an insecurity, a lot of questions. It them put them in a really a kind of shaky platform where they are like, okay, are we going to have a job? Are we not going to have a job? So that stability was not there. So my first thing was to give them a very clear vision that it's not about me taking over, it's about us taking over. And ownership has changed. The staff is not. Staff is still the same. We are going to work with you guys. So we matched. So whatever their payroll was or pay rate was, we like matched with it. We did not cut it off. We did not compromise anything. We sat down, had a meeting, we talked about it, that these are our expectations. So having set a clear boundaries are very important. So when you walk in and the first day, you talk to them, give them confidence. And of course, that does not build in one day. or a few weeks. You have to consistently be with and keep working on it. So it's not just with one hand, it's like you both have to pitch in, you both have to work with it. So having that kind of clear intention, setting up the boundaries, creating that healthy relationship, what is their needs, what their expectations are, and working with the ground level, knowing each member what their expectations, where they want to go, where they want to grow. Having that understanding gives you an idea where to fit those people by changing their position or not changing their position, giving them consistent hours, giving them consistent support, being there as not as a owner, but being there as a supporter kind of gives them that safety, that security that yes, we are good. So I think that's how the mindset I had. And learning from coming from the background where I have worked for somebody, right? So I was being an employee one time, knowing that hustle, knowing that insecurities, knowing that struggle, knowing all of those keys were very important for me to address it to those existing employees that yes, you guys are not employees, you are part of Menchies, you are Menchie family. So you are not just a team members, you are not just working for me. I think that trust is very important. If you need a stability, if you need a long run employees that works for you, I think that is very important. So that's what we have created.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think one thing that I've definitely seen in this industry, especially, is when new owners take over, they often think that they understand the business, right? How hard can it be, right? And will immediately jump into telling those employees to change what they're doing or whatever. And that's very quickly how you lose trust, right? The employees, there's a lot of cultures where the owner comes in, employees say, yep, no problem, I'll do that. And then the owner leaves and they're going, all right, let's go back to what we were doing, right?
What we were doing.
Um, and I am curious too. I really like that you were thoughtful in building the trust, building relationships. We're not going to come in and totally shake things up. We're going to shift things slowly. How did you start to, were there any big cultural changes you really wanted to make in terms of the staff and what you thought was important for the business that maybe wasn't happening before?
So when it comes to career structure, I think that it was very important for me to set up some, as I mentioned, the set up some boundaries. So then when I saw them, when I first took over, because it was run by absentee owners, so they don't know what is the right way, what is the right way to do it, what is sometimes what are the guidelines, what are the expectations from not just the owner's perspective, but the brand stand. So what the brand wants, what is the headquarters expectations from the owners, and what is the owner's expectations from the team members. So it's not just culture as a being owner, but as a being a franchise for Menchies. We are just not owners, but we are representing Menchies. So it was very important for them to understand that and how the customer service is. And I think customer service is not just something that is just greeting the customers. It's also your culture. It's like how you greet, how you welcome the people. I think that is also a biggest thing that is very important for us. So that's where we made certain find out what their skills were, what are they good at, what their skills are, what are their weaknesses, how can we use those weaknesses and turn it into the strength instead of just using as a weaknesses, and even they cannot use against not to work or against the other stuff. So we sat down and going by evaluation, by one-on-one, like having that meeting where we go through talking to each other, like what they are good at. So I, it's very important for them to understand that language is the front line of our brand. When you are using your strength or your skills as a strength and you can outshine, how can you make it better? How can you grow just from the team member to shift lead? And who knows that you can be a manager. And then if we grow, then you grow with us. And that's how we like work with each other. And certain things where always learning is something that is ongoing process. So this, when we took over, our entire team did not have any type of a learning for so long.
Wow.
So they didn't know what is the new rules, what are the new changes in headquarters, what they have implemented. So that was challenging for us, and we brought that in our new process, and we explained them that this is what are the new changes are, and that's how we are going to do. So it was not a one day, but yes, eventually it did work out, and it did. Now everything is aligned.
Yeah. What are some of language is so important. What are some of the specific language or greetings that are like fundamental to either Menchies or your store specifically that you had them have them use?
So as I mentioned, language is a culture. The language is a culture in action. The way we greet and send off customer sets the tone of the entire experience, and then it reinforces who we are as a brand. So I believe that having the same script that you go through different restaurants or different places, having the same script does not make you extraordinary, or it does not make you something different. And that's where I feel like having something different, that with the intention, being warm, being present, genuinely welcoming, while giving them a framework where they can make it their own. Do believe when we took over, they were saying like, oh, welcome in or have a great day. And I was not happy with that. And since the Menchies does like to have its specific ways, so we implemented that, hey, when customer comes, we would like you to use as welcome to Menchies. When they are leaving, have a smiley day. So I feel like when they are greeted this, they do know that customers feel that presence, that yes, they are in Menchies. Menchies does have a specific way of greeting the customer. Is that your first time coming in? Is there something that I can help you with? What makes it, did you find everything okay? Which flavor did you like the most? So interacting with the customers, getting their feedbacks, it gives them more importance, and also customer feels valued. So I feel like it's just creating that environment, creating that experience. Customer do put that custom experience as their feedback, and they would come back. So not only just greeting with that specific way brings the joy or that smile on their face. It doesn't matter how the day is, right? If you say have a smiley day, it does make them smile. At least for that second, you give them that smile on their face. So that is very important for us. So I think that's what we implemented, and that's working really well with Menchies for sure.
Yeah. I really like that you explained the why, and I assume you did that with the staff as well, right? It's
Mhm.
not just, hey, you're following this script now, right? There's a big difference between that and walking people through, hey, this is why this is important, right? And kudos to you as well for keeping some of those existing staff. I've seen firsthand the sort of like absentee ownership. And on one hand, it means exactly like your experience, right? You have staff that kind of they figure it out on their own, right or wrong. And so on one end, it's, hey, these staff are like really resourceful. I've seen a few different concepts where the staff were really good at, they banded together. They're like, we got to figure out how to do this because we can't get a hold of the owner, right? So I love that you brought them through it, and just, I think it would have been very tempting. And in this industry, you see it all the time where people come in, they buy the business, and then they clean house, and then they start over. And we're going to train all of our staff the way we want. And so now you're at a point where the operation, it sounds like it's very good. You're getting great operation scores and things like that. I want to kind of connect both of the businesses now, right? So obviously you have the sort of unifying theme for you personally with the two businesses. Is there any overlap in terms of the people? Is there any staff crossover? But I'm curious too, does your sort of unifying mission, do you convey that into both businesses and this is how these kind of work together? Or how do you manage it? Or do you treat it totally separate and you don't really talk about one or the other?
I would say it it wouldn't, I don't think so. It's true that if I say that, oh, no, I keep it separate, that's not entirely true for sure. So with Menchies, it's always a young staff. Even with the coding and robotics, it's always a young staff, right? So I feel like with the young generation, they have a ability to adapt new skills, you mold them with the right guidance. I feel like you can mold them really well. So when it comes to cross training, I do have some employees or some team members. They go in high schools, right? So they are high school students. They are looking for part-time jobs. And some of the students, they have finished their high school. They are saving right now for their colleges. So I help them. And they are very talented. It's not just that they are just working here just to get the pay or anything like that. They are actually, what kind of like motivates me is they want to save this money for their education, for their future. So I feel like, how can I help them? So that's where, when I do interviews, when I schedule the interviews and when I hire them, I identify their skills, and I like making sure that how can I have them both businesses at the same time, but using their strengths in the different roles. Working at the Menchies, they are literally focusing on customer service, helping the staff and everything. And when it comes to Wize Computing Academy, it's completely technical. So being from technical to the customer service, I think I am covering entire process of how to be a leader. Doesn't matter where you are going, you will have the knowledge of almost everything. How to be a customer, how to good at customer service, how to good at management, how to good at inventory specialist, how to be a good at teaching, how to be good at learning, and how to take care of the classroom, how to take care of the kids. So I feel like I am covering so many areas, and I brag about myself all the time that I'm not just, they are like my kids. I'm not only teaching kids, but I'm also teaching my instructors how to be a leader in the future. So I'm shaping up them. But cross training across two very different business takes the structure and clarity, of course. So I am always thoughtful about how I schedule them, for sure. Starting people where they are strongest and then gradually expanding their skills set across both the environments. So it's very important how to help them with that structure. And what I have seen, that providing that consistent hours, as I mentioned earlier, and that creates a stability, of course, and then it builds the loyalty as well. And that is very important, that once you get the stability and loyalty, they do know, even they feel more secure. They feel more, it directly impacts the retention and their performance. So at the same time, I stay mindful. I stay mindful of the challenges also, that, okay, if this does not work out, it comes with the burnout, it comes with the mismatched strengths, right? And then confusion. And then from having two leadership structure. So what I do is I keep communication very clear and set expectations upfront instead of just going with the flow. It has to be upfront, very clear. And that also, it also helps them, not just me, but it helps both of us, as in making sure that they are supported, but at the same time, they are not pulled in a different directions. So it's very important. And having all of this clarity does build very strong relationship, whether they are in a different business or different working at the two different companies. And I'm not the only entrepreneur who are hiring any employees. They are not working two jobs, right? They are working a majority of the employees, they used to work two jobs. So they were working, for an example, I had one employee, she was working at Menchies part-time, and then she was working on DoorDash for the side money, right? And one day I had a conversation with her, and she was very tired, looking pale, and I was concerned. Then I was like, is everything okay? If this work is making you burn tired or drain your energy, you can talk to me. And that's where she's, no, it's not about this job. It's about my DoorDash because I work late nights. And so that's where I had a conversation with her, why she was doing all of this and what is her end goal and what is she looking for. That's where she was good at computer. She was good at babysitting the kids. So she was having a skills, but it was not used in a right direction, or she never got an opportunity to get into all of that, right? So that's when I offered her that, hey, would you be able to be as an assistant instructor instead of being a lead teacher? Let's start with the assistant. And I trained her, having her skills of time management, having a skill of taking care of little kids. I think she grew from not just by learning experience, but using her skills with the management working at Menchies. She is now my one of the lead teacher. So that took her about 6 to 8 months, but she worked through it. And with her hard work, she is at the lead teacher position. So I feel like it's very important that you can teach, but they are willing to learn also at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. You just covered so many interesting things there. I think one of the biggest insights there is just I think in a lot of cases employers don't really ask, but they just don't ask the first question, right? Which is what's going on. They just assume, oh, you can't manage the hours, then too bad, right? But you really flipped it into an opportunity to help her. And in this industry, so many folks are trying to hold two, three part-time jobs and string together something close to full-time hours, right? And of course, having the other business provides a unique opportunity to supplement, of course, right? Maybe not every business can do that part, but I also love that you also mentioned just the value that employees place on consistency in scheduling and hours. I wonder if you could expand on that a little bit, because I think it's something that's really neglected. A really common place, especially on the food service side, is you get your schedule the week before and changes every week. So what have you seen in terms of the value of that?
I feel like when it comes to the hours and consistency, connecting with the people or connecting with the right people is very important, right? And when you mentioned that, yes, not everybody asks what's going on and all of that. When you are in a food industry, we eat that food, right? We make the food. For example, I cook. I'm a mother. I'm a wife, right? So I cook for my kids. I cook the food with the love. Why? Because I'm feeding my loved ones. I follow the same concept in the food industry or education industry. Whatever it's in your mind and it's in your heart, you're going to deliver that. So if your employees are not feeling that, whatever they prep is just thinking by as an employee, not thinking as, oh, this is my place, this is my happy place. And I am preparing this for my customers, not as a thinking my customers, but thinking as an, oh, I'm feeding the love. I'm feeding this recipe with a lot of love. So I believe connecting with your team members, it's very important, because when you not only just thinking as an, oh, because you are not getting more hours or you are working 3 4 jobs, I need my work get done. Doesn't matter how many jobs you are doing. No, that's not right. If you have a right person working, they have so many skills, they have so many abilities. Connecting with them, knowing what their struggles are, actually build that connection and they feel more valued. And when you feel more valued, more respected, you don't want to leave that place because you want to build that relationship. And how many places do you go and feel that? Very few places. We want to be one of those few places instead of being on the other category. So I feel like when they're preparing the food, when they are giving the education or educating the kids, they should feel satisfied. They should feel loved. They should feel valued. That's what they are going to deliver. and that's what they are going to give. So it's not always about just giving an hours, it's about giving hours what they have earned, not just by for making money, but that's their right that they have earned by showing all of this. So I think that is very important for me, and that's the mindset I always have. That's the
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And talk about really putting your sort of your heart into the business, right? There's a real thought that comes right from what you hold personally valuable, like what you value, and have really looked to bring that out in the businesses as well. A separate thing, but I'm wondering, V, if you could talk just before we started recording, we talked as well about both businesses. You're quite involved in the community. And I wonder if you could speak to that, just especially on the lens of like how it's helped on the people side of the business, whether it's like helping with recruiting or how it motivates staff getting out into the community and stuff. Just anything you can speak onto that, because I thought that was just an interesting thing that you've really invested a lot of time in.
So both the businesses required community support, right? It's very important. And I feel getting something from community and giving back to the community is the balance that you are maintaining. And I feel like community is not some like a marketing strategy. I feel like it's more of an operating system where you work with them, they work with you, right? Not and it's also about the alignment. So when you align that and create that momentum with that community or the people in the community, I think it does bring lot and lots of potential. I feel like the right partnership does not just grow your business, it's just the strengthen your people. That is the biggest thing. That's what I feel like. Working with the coding and robotics, the Wize Computing Academy, I think we need community because we are teaching not only just the schools, but we connect with the church, with the recreation centers, or there are some other host locations. So we connect with them. With Menchies also, we not only just do connect with the whatever the customer comes in, we do connect with the schools, we do connect with the churches, then different the sports like a soccer field. There are some tournaments that going around, right? For baseball, basketball, so different sports. So we like connect with them. So they are all of them are part of community. So it's very important that community partnership that have been one of the most effective ways that we have built our team, our reputation at the same time. And I feel like when I connected with all of these different areas, it not only just they grew, but also I felt like I grew the business, but also the personal growth. Because you learn a lot from different culture, different people, different mindset, different ideas. It brings up so much. So community is very important. And it's not just outreach, right? That to grow the business or make a profitable business. It's a part of how we operate. How when your mission is real and consistent, I feel like it creates a strong pipeline for recruiting, retention, and referral without forcing it. And I am intentional about who we partner with. That is very important. I look for authenticity for sure. That is very important. We share the same purpose. It's not just profit, but also how am I getting help? But at the same time, how can I help? So that's, for example, like some of the private schools, they want us to go and teach the robotics. I just don't just teach them. I do profit sharing. So they are just giving me not only space, but they are also giving me so many young minds that are like ready to learn, right? So it's my duty to give back that profit sharing and give them back. Or sometimes I do a free Menchie day. So I just take the yogurt with me and give a treat. So how can I give it back to them and with a pure heart? So it's very important. And I personally avoid anything that purely feels transactional. I'm not that person. I have never been that person. That does not set very well with me. And even with people too, if they talk about transactional stuff, it just turn off. I do not want it to connect with that type of a people. Maybe it's a right, for some it's the right thing to do. For me, it's not. So that's how I feel. And those relationship creates an issue, and it creates a like a losing impact in the future. That's how I feel. It doesn't go long ways. When you connect with the right intention, I think it creates long-term relationship. And also I feel like you are not only connected with the community, is connected with you, and you are actually teaching your upcoming generation how to be connected with the community. And this younger generation that I'm hiring or working with, they come from the same community. So they are also learning that at the same time.
Yeah, very smart. I really admire how thoughtful you are about that. In my past, I knew that getting involved with the community was really important, but I feel like I did it in bursts. It was somewhat a reactive thing, right? People would come to us and there was never a cohesive strategy. It was just I just kind of knew I needed to be like do some things, but it didn't really fit into a bigger
Mm.
like thoughtful strategy. So just hearing you speak about how you've thought about it, I really admire that.
And
Um,
also,
yeah, go ahead.
also, I feel like kindness is something that also take you a long way. When you are being kind, you are being grounded, you are being humble. I think that is the key that community do see. Not everybody does not come with the same mindset, right? Everybody is coming, they have their different perspective, and you learn from that. But what you can give, you cannot change everybody, but you know what you have that will change the perspective. And I feel like that kindness is very important when you do something for people. I think
Yeah.
that people needs nowadays a lot, that kindness, that grounding, knowing people instead of just being transactional. It's
Yeah.
very, people don't have time for each other to know. So I think this is a one way of knowing each other. And people do feel like, oh, this person do care, not just doing a business, but it does, yeah, this person needs to connect with the community with the right intention. So I think that is very important.
Yeah, really good call out, right? It's so easy to go take the event or,
Mhm.
agree to run a class or whatever it is, but then show up and not, and then immediately treat it as a transaction, right? So it's a really good point to call out. V, as we get up on time, and the time has blown by, but wondering, you have a really cool journey so far, right? You've had this amazing path of slowly scaling up your entrepreneurial empire. Now with the two different businesses, maybe some other things on the way. Where can we direct folks who kind of want to follow along, just connect with you, or just learn more about what you're doing?
So yeah, people can connect on the LinkedIn.
Mhm.
To have a LinkedIn profile, they can connect, and of course, they can stay tuned for my upcoming new adventures, what I'm gonna bring in on board for sure. So yes, they can follow me on there. I'm always doing something new. There are some more in the pipeline, so that will be in on the LinkedIn very shortly for sure.
Amazing. We're excited to hear what comes next. If you want to tease anything, go for it. If not, they can follow along and see the very exciting new ventures, because I'm sure it's not going to be the same thing. If we know anything about you, it's that you want to be in different areas and doing new things, right? So
Mhm.
that we'll look
Yes,
forward to
and
that.
of course. Now, but I will keep it right now, just let it be as it is. When it's on the LinkedIn, you will see it. And I want people to just find out what is my next adventure is. I think I
Awesome.
feel
We've
like
created the suspense.
I know,
uh
it's a good
yes.
teaser. I love
I
it.
love it. Yeah. Great
Yes.
stuff, V.
Something that is of course good for people, helpful for people, for sure. It's make
Yeah.
a difference in people's life. That's what it is that I'm going to bring in, for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Sticking with the theme. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing an hour with us, V. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for giving me that time and opportunity. And I'm glad that I was able to share my experience, and I learned a lot from both of you too, like how not to get nervous, but at the same time, how to be yourself. So you guys helped me a lot. So in that
Oh,
process. So thank you. Thank you so much.
our pleasure. Yeah. Thank you for coming on.
No problem.
Awesome. Bye for now.
Bye for
Have a good
now.
one. Bye-bye. Bye for now.
Derek, Vee has such a cool setup where she has two different, very different businesses that I did not think would connect or could be as intertwined as they are, but she runs them elegantly and cross-functionally and connects them in ways that the whole mind and body, you're feeding people's minds and bodies, and I I love it. It's so unique.
Yeah, I agree. I think like when we went in to our first conversation, our introduction call, I was assuming, oh yeah, it's just two separate businesses that she runs, right? Like
Yeah.
I didn't expect there to be like that common thread, which was really cool. And I think we got into how important that is and how that ties it all together, but also even just for her staff as well, right? And you're not running it like two joined businesses. It's not like one big business, but having almost like two hands, right? Where she has the ability to bring some folks over who show that leadership potential and want to do more on the teaching and leadership side and stuff like that, right? It's really fleshed out a really cool business model there.
Yeah, very cool. And I like that she brings in, so for both of these businesses, you would assume they're like entry level roles, right? They're seasonal because I think the robotics is only during the school year, and then during the summer is the season for Menchies, right? Although I'm sure they're open all year, but just busier in the summer. She doesn't think of these as roles that are entry level or just seasonal part-time help, right? She really invests in her people, which I also think is a very like a unique approach. And someone to to be a teenager and have a part-time try to get a part-time position, and then have someone like her invest in them and ask them about themselves and what's going on with them and stuff like that. I just think that she kind of opens up people in a way that a high schooler wouldn't expect to at their first job at an ice cream store, right?
Yeah, agreed. And I think that really speaks to not obviously not everyone can do it, but having multiple businesses and leveraging that to create pathways that otherwise wouldn't exist, right? And She's is a fairly standard quick serve setup where it's you maybe have some shift leaders and then you might have a store manager, but there's not upward mobility for everyone. And I think a lot of people go in expecting like this is a
Yeah.
part-time job paycheck, right? And so to bring people in with that, but then really show them, hey,
Yeah.
we got some more here, and developing people is the biggest theme.
Yeah, I love that. We hit on a lot. Were you able to distill it into a shifting question, Derek?
Yeah, you're right. We really did jump through a lot. Yeah, mine, one of the ones we really only scratched the surface on, but I think there's enough for folks to think on more, which is listening to how involved she is in the community and how thoughtful and strategic she is about who she partners with and where they bring the business and looking for that sort of mutual relationship. She especially mentioned how it helps with recruiting, retention, referrals, not just for customers, but for employees, which of
Yeah.
course is our general topic. I think it's just a good opportunity to ask in your business, whatever that may be, what role does community involvement play? And does it align with your overall, how are you aligning that with your people strategy?
I like that. I like that one a lot because, and I'll be honest, that was my question
I
before.
stole it.
Yeah, you stole it. You stole it. But I have a backup one. I have another one. But it just speaks to how cool and important that is, because I think a lot of people do community involvement, community work. They don't, they either go into it transactionally, like V said, in which case you're not, it, it, it won't work in the same way, right?
Yeah.
Or they go into it and they have themselves closed off to the benefits of it, where it's just, oh, we're just gonna go in the community and do this one thing, and they don't really connect with people in different ways, right? Like I'm thinking of an example. You go to a church event and you're gonna give out ice cream at that church event. If you're not having conversations with the people in the community while you're doing the community event, you're never going to get or find someone that might want to work for you, right? And they won't realize that, oh, wow, this is going to be a really good employer to work for. They might see that you're doing the community event, but if they don't get a chance to talk to you, they don't know, right? So I think putting your whole self into it is also an important piece.
Yeah, I agree, right? And it's the difference of, are you leading that with marketing or are you leading that with people? Because the return on going into the community doesn't have to come in the form of sales, right? And I'm even just thinking back in my day, you've heard me talk about it too many times, but it's also just for your current staff, right? It's an opportunity for them to get out. They're not in the store, different scenery. They get to engage with people. Often if they're like giving away ice cream or if they're getting to teach a whole different group of kids, whatever the business context is, right? It's just something different, which can itself be a benefit.
Absolutely. And whenever we talk to employees and ask them, oh, what do you see as the benefits of your employer? If an employer offers something like that, is usually one of the top two to three things that they mention, if not the first, right? It's always mentioned high is in the volunteer days that they get to do as part of their work, right? So people do love it. And it also is fun. It's like a field trip, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it
Exactly.
breaks up the monotony.
Yeah, you don't get the same opportunities in these kind of businesses to do it. And so when you can, it's really valuable, right?
Yeah.
So I stole yours, Kathleen, but what was your other very good question? I won't say your backup question. What was the other very good question
My
you
other
were thinking?
very good question is, so we talked a lot about customer service and how it isn't just greeting customers, right? It is your culture, right? Because when you walk into a store, if the two people behind the counter are mad at each other, you can sense that. You can feel it. If they're having fun, you feel like you're having fun when you walk in, right? And she also talked about language and the importance of repetition and questions that an employee asks guests, right? It's not just, what kind of ice cream do you want? It's like, how's your day going? Oh, which top do you like? Oh, you like these ones? Do you like there's a lot of questions she mentioned that I thought were really cool. So my question would be around employees, the way employees interact with guests and asking questions, right? If your employees are not asking questions and opening up a conversation and trying to if that part is transactional of just, what kind of ice cream do you want? This is how much it costs. You're limiting yourself, right? So I'd say, how are your employees interacting with guests? And that comes from the culture. And so how can you improve that, the way they asks questions?
Yeah, I like that a lot, right? It goes to customer service training in general, but it's more specific. Like, how do you train curiosity? Genuine, it's very different if an employee is just asking something from a script or something versus if they're just genuinely asking, oh, which flavor did you enjoy the most? Or how was that topping combination in the specific ice cream context, right? And that's just something that's maybe underemphasized, right? A lot of operations focus on the script, so to speak, right? Making a bigger restaurant to be learning the menu. In retail, it's like learning which things are in season. You can apply it to every context, right? But it's very different when you start to try and connect with the person first and training that and embedding that.
And it's a good skill for your employees to have. So it's not, it adds more value when you're training that and teaching your employees how to have curiosity and have these ask questions and really connect with guests. It's a different way to connect with guests rather than just, hi, how are you? Have a good day. Yeah, I think it's important. So I think it's a good one to start thinking about. Even if it's not a whole change, you can't make it right away. It's a good one to start thinking about because it's a pattern interrupt, right? Whenever I'm going to get ice cream or I'm doing anything in my day-to-day life and there's some sort of pattern interrupt and someone asks me a question that I'm not expecting, I'm like, whoa, okay, that was cool.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and just one little thing makes me think of too, right? If you can really train folks to be curious and to want to engage and ask thoughtful questions, right? That is the foundation. That's a foundational skill for any job, right? I mean, it is extremely critical to something you and I do a lot, Kathleen, which is more of sales and communication, right? Good sales starts with actually asking really good questions and understanding what is this person struggling with, et cetera, right? But it applies to everything, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Product.
skill that no matter what role you go on to, being able to just be genuinely curious about people and ask questions is how you can sell your ideas, you can build relationships, et cetera, right?
Build
It's fundamental.
products, build better products for
Yes.
people. That is a skill that you have that is very good too. That you're always asking questions about how could we do, is there a way we could do this? Is there a way we could do it better? Those questions, like I think the interpersonal side, guests, sales, of course, but also when it comes to like building products, AI, coding tools, like the other side of her business too. Like there was a genuine like the curiosity that her kids have, like those kids that are at Wize Computing Academy,
Right.
building robotics, like that. The curiosity of questions is important on that side too.
Yeah. Yeah. Love how you tied both in together. I was so focused on frozen yogurt that I didn't even think about
Well,
that, but
that's because
what
you
a
love
connection.
frozen yogurt. Yeah, we
I
get it.
do. I'm partial to ice cream. If you squint, it's all delicious.
It's all the same.
Right?
It's all a sweet treat at the end.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I guess we should say thanks for coming to work with us.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.